Welcome to another episode of Missing Pieces. This is my weekly audio journal where I talk about my life, the things I'm doing, and as scary as it is, the things I've been thinking about. This week's a little bit of a short one. I'm recording this on Thursday, February 2nd. Happy Groundhog Day, everyone. Actually, we watched the live stream this morning of Punxsutawney Phil being pulled out of his cozy little box and held up to the world to determine if there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter. And wouldn't you know it, that little rascal saw his shadow on what very much appeared to be a cloudy day, signifying 6 more weeks of winter. So we're all very sad. There were boos all throughout the audience. Cody made the joke that people were going to start throwing tomatoes at the stand up there, but it was so much fun. And I was wondering, this would be a great topic to discuss next time. Is Groundhog Day a big deal for people outside of Pennsylvania? Because Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania is a thing. If you've seen the movie Groundhog Day, which if you haven't, you should totally give it a watch with Bill Murray. It's classic. Is it a big deal to you? It is for us, at least. And it was fun getting to watch it live and being there with Clark. Man, as he was eating, Cody made these pancakes that she actually had these cutouts that were groundhog cutouts. So he was eating Punxsutawney Phil pancakes while he was watching. A little morbid, I guess, now that I think about it. But it was kind of a fun experience and something I remember. I actually got some footage of it, which you may end up seeing in a video at some point. And it's actually probably more likely than not. Speaking of videos, that has been my week this week. I have been getting caught up on editing. As you may know, I don't like to really broadcast what we're up to, but I've kind of let the cat out of the bag a few times in videos. And we have some plans coming up, plans that won't involve winter weather. Let me just say that. And I wanted to get caught up with all of my video editing, so we're up to date. So it was really interesting yesterday because I finally got to the point where I was literally editing the clip before I was like sitting down to edit. And I really have never been caught up. Usually it's like a week behind. So that felt good getting caught up with that. And I got a bunch of other like just miscellaneous things done around the house here in preparation for such things that, again, I don't like to broadcast, but some of you guys know the plans. Just know that if you see me again, I'll have a really nice tan, hopefully. And I'll have a lot of great things to share with you. Speaking of great things to share with you, this week something really fun happened in the world of gaming, probably the highlight of my week, because believe it or not, as much as I like editing and crafting these little stories for you guys, video games it's a little bit more fun on occasion, like shooting people in GoldenEye, for example, a game from my childhood. I don't know if it's your childhood or adolescence, when you're like 13, 14, I guess it's like your adolescence, but it was my favorite Nintendo 64 game. I love the multiplayer of GoldenEye. If you don't know what GoldenEye is, it's a first-person shooter game that came out for the Nintendo 64 back in like 1998, I want to say 97, 98. Don't quote me on the year. But it was like a revolution in video gaming because first-person shooters weren't really much of a thing before that. I mean, there was games like Doom, I suppose, but this really took it to the next level, and multiplayer became a thing. And if you grew up like around that time, if you're the same age as me or maybe a little bit older, a little bit younger, you probably remember sitting there with your tiny little TV with the 4-player split screen happening on it. So you had like 3 inches of space where you could run around and try to shoot your friends and have a good time, because that's what you do when you have friends and you have a good time. You shoot them. Boy, we just got demonetized. It's such a big part of my childhood. And what's really cool is that they just came out with it again, this time for Nintendo Switch Online and also for Xbox Game Pass. So if you have either of those services, you can play this game for free. And the interesting thing is if you have Nintendo Switch Online, you can actually play it with the classic Nintendo 64 controller like that they came out with. And I was able to get one. It's very often out of stock. So I was able to get one of those. And I've been playing this game pretty consistently. I did a few live streams, got a little carried away last weekend with it. I probably played 4 hours of the game, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you have a wife and she's like, you're down there playing video games, I'm like, I'm entertaining the world. Any way to justify it. It was fun. I will say this though, nostalgia sometimes should be left in the past. Like the memories I have from this game are well founded, especially in the first half of the game. But then when you get into the second half, I really strongly started to dislike the game, especially when a character gets involved by the name of Natalia. And if you've ever experienced Natalia constantly getting killed by people and you basically being on protect missions of her, and it's just being super annoying. And the mission structure, there's like these mazes, there's a statue level where it's just a maze and it's miserable. I pretty much hate the game by the end, but I love the first half. I love multiplayer, which I haven't been able to play yet. I just did the single player. In fact, we beat the game last night. Clark was watching while I beat it. I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't like the last part of the game. The beginning of the game, though, if you ever play it, play up to the level, it's Bunker, I think is the last level you should play before things start sucking. The music just absolutely slaps. In fact, there's this TikTok where just the pause music alone is insane. There's this TikTok or YouTube short probably of these guys that it's like, he's like, hey, all I need is just some pause music. It's for a movie tie-in game. It doesn't need to be anything special. And the guy's like, he hits the space bar to play it. And it's like, dun, 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 dun. And it's just, the guys are like going crazy, like bobbing their heads and stuff and dancing. It's pretty funny. And that kind of took me back. But I had so much fun playing that game and a lot of frustration, but I streamed a large port of it. I streamed a large port of it and it was good. I am curious to see how it plays on Xbox with like modern controls. Graphically, I think it kind of looks the same, but it was nice kind of going back in time to things that we love from our past, which is going to be the purple question this week. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Before I talk about that, I need to talk about the thing that we always lead off the show with before I get excited about video games, and that is the weight loss update. I got to talk about that, right? Especially when the news is good. And this week it was down 2.6 pounds this week. That is like right on pace for my goal. I'm feeling good about that. And even better than that, today is February 2nd, as I may have mentioned. Happy Groundhog Day. See, that could be the running joke of this episode. I just keep saying Happy Groundhog Day over and over again. If you watch the movie, and you should, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Babe, I got you, babe. Okay, we're done with that. Down 2.6 pounds this week. February 2nd marks the 1 month anniversary of Clark Mann's birthday, which is January 2nd. I am down 13 pounds in this 1 month. And that is pretty darn awesome. And one of the other questions here, should I just get into 3 questions here? I'm going to answer the blue one right now. We're just going to jump out of order. This whole episode is going to be out of order, okay? What's one thing life is teaching you right now? And this isn't necessarily something life is teaching me because it's something that I've already like known, but it's affirming to me or confirming to me, whatever word that we should use properly there. It's confirming to me that if there's something that I want in this life and I make it my purpose and I put my attention towards it, there's nothing that will stop me from getting that. And I believe that for you too, whatever that thing is. We had a gentleman last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, that was talking about how he decided to quit smoking after like an entire life of smoking. From the time he was barely even a teenager. While I was playing GoldenEye, he was lighting up a pack of Marlboros, basically. He quit smoking. He just did it. And that is what I think life could teach anyone is if you want something. Like I want to lose weight. And there was a long time that I said I wanted to do it, right? I didn't. Like I just didn't do it because I didn't put the focus in it. I didn't put the dedication, the time, the energy, and the mental effort into deciding like, you know what's going to help me do that? I should probably quit drinking soda. I should probably not do any more nighttime snacking. You know, it'd be really great is if I got on the elliptical for 30 minutes every day while I watch YouTube videos that I've been watching otherwise. Especially, I found a pro tip and hack for doing the elliptical or any exercise if you don't need your hands involved. Watch TikTok. You know how TikTok is like kind of wildly addicting. Man, that's going to tie into my other question too. Oh my God, we might just go into 3 questions right here, boys. I was watching TikTok the one day as opposed to watching my usual YouTube videos where I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh my God, it's only been 17 minutes. How much longer is this going to go on for? Because I'm really huffing it. Like I'm at like 155 heart rate. Some of you legends are going to be like, Greg, why aren't you at like 275 beats per minute? I'm like, I don't want to die. But I watched TikTok the one day and the time was just like gone. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is a life hack. If you want to get through exercising that sucks, do the same thing that TikTok does for you where it hits your little dopamine receptors or whatever and you're flipping through your videos. You won't even realize the time's passed and right there you just burnt 300 calories. Boom. Now you can go eat your hard-boiled egg that's only 70 calories and still be in a deficit. So that's pretty much my life story now. And that's something that life is teaching me. If we're taking it back to that, I know you guys probably aren't into the elliptical hard-boiled egg lifestyle, but if you want something and you're willing to make the sacrifices and put your attention and effort into it, like I'm literally weighing myself like 2 times a day. I do all these checks just because I'm obsessed with it. I get obsessed. You will achieve your goals. At least you'll get part of the way there, right? You just take that one step on the elliptical, on the treadmill, outside. I mean, whatever it is. I feel like you can do it. So that's the thing that life is teaching me right now. And it's a belief that I had before that is like I'm believing even more now. So I'm very excited about that. We'll save the 2 other questions, I guess, for a little bit later. And it's going to come up a little bit. Oh, this is going to be so good how this ties back around. It'll be like Groundhog's Day. We'll come back around to this very soon, actually, because I don't have much else to talk about it. There was one other game that I played since we're flipping all around here. I played a game called Donut County for Game Pass. Fun little game, very different from GoldenEye. GoldenEye, you run around shooting people in the face, and it's super satisfying doing that, by the way. Demonetized. Donut County, you are in control of a hole, this small hole. You play as BK the raccoon or the raccoons, and there is this place called Donut County. It has all these interesting people in it, and as you start just taking things down in this hole, so like you suck up a rock or whatever, the rock falls in the hole, and you're moving the hole around. The whole premise of this game is all you do is read story because there is this great story with it, but you're moving this hole around, and as you take things into the hole gets bigger and bigger to the point where you take essentially the whole entire town down there, and then you're trying to get the story behind it, and then your team comes together, and then they go and defeat the Trash King, who is the king of the raccoons and is behind all of this. But it's a cute little story. The game literally is less than 2 hours long, and I kind of like that. I was like, I would probably play and beat more video games if they weren't like 20 hours long or 10 hours long or 8 hours long. If they were like 2 hours, if you could sit down and play and beat a video game in 2 hours and you make that game like $10 or whatever, or put it on Game Pass, I love that. So there's probably a bunch of other games out there that I should play, that I should try. And if you know what one of those is or are, we're still trying to use proper English here, you let me know. Speaking of video games, let me go into a listener feedback comment. I love this because we're just like, we're all over. We've done 3 questions. We've done gaming. We've done the weight thing. Let me say what Lucas said. I said last week that as far as gaming goes, I am very intimidated by survival horror games. Like Resident Evil scares me like crazy. I played Silent Hill with my buddy back in the day. Oh my goodness. Like I can watch scary movies because I'm like not in control of it, and ultimately like you have that disconnect. But when you're controlling the character, even though it's not you, it reminds me of those people that put the VR headsets on and they're told to go walk across like a plank that's above a city or like a beam, and they can't physically do it because it's too scary, even though that in their mind they know they're standing inside of a living room. They can't do it. That's kind of like me with survival horror. But Lucas says here, he says, I used to be the same way when it came to playing survival horror games or watching horror movies even. But back when The Last of Us came out, and that's how I was talking about this, I really want to play that game because the show's out now, which I haven't seen yet. Oh, I did watch something. We'll go to that after this. It came out. I was intrigued by the story, so I eventually got enough courage to play the game. And I'm so glad I did. It's probably my favorite piece of media ever created. The hype train, like the hype. Do we have a hype meter here? I was scared of the monsters at first, but once I figured out how to effectively defeat each of the different monsters, they became less scary. The game taught me that confidence from doing destroys my fears. That's what life is teaching you right now. Confidence from doing destroys your fears. I love that, dude. How about that, cycling it back around? This feels good. This episode's going to be a 10 out of 10. You better leave a like. Unless you're listening to this in podcast land. Then just put your thumb up as you're listening to this right now. Let's all do that together. You're driving, you're sitting on a train, you're walking your dog, you doing the dishes, just put your bubbly thumb up there, and let's just do it together. It felt good, didn't it? We were all together in that one. I love that. And that game is one that I will play. I promise you that. And I think maybe if I stream it with people watching, I won't feel so alone and scared. So I think that'll help too. But I would like to learn that I can get confidence from doing to destroy my fears, especially of survival horror video games. Maybe I should just stick to Donut County though, where I play as a cute little raccoon and it's all nice and friendly. No, we must play something scary. Speaking of Last of Us, which is on HBO Max, this is going to be like a little Inception level here. I haven't watched that yet, but Cody and I did watch a show called White Lotus, which is season 1. Season 2 is out already. This came out a while back, but I've heard good things about it. And the premise of White Lotus is it basically takes place, this isn't like real, this is all made up, but it takes place on a week on a Hawaiian resort. And the premise of the show is it shows the discrepancy between the staff that work there and the people that come there. And what's really fun is that everyone kind of has a story. So it's all these really rich white people coming in, and then all these people that live there or work there, they have to deal with these people, and a lot of crazy stuff happens in this 1 week that these people exist. It's definitely a very adult, mature show. Don't watch with your kids around. This was like we're going to watch it when Clark Man's at school routine. But I really enjoyed watching White Lotus season 1, and I would like to see season 2. It's only 6 episodes. So just like Donut County only being 2 hours, 6 episodes at less than an hour a piece doesn't feel so daunting as watching something that's like 10 episodes or 13. We did finish House of Dragon. I'm not sure if I mentioned that last week. But I'm getting my value, I guess, out of HBO Max, and I'm glad that I am, because I talked a little bit ago about canceling it. And it's funny because as soon as we were finishing White Lotus, I think, my mother-in-law came over and she talked about how much she really enjoys watching HBO Max, and she's using our account. Don't tell them, because Netflix is apparently doing a thing now where they don't like the idea of people sharing accounts like that. They want money from everybody, right? So you have to log into your home base from your device or whatever every 30 days or they block you out. And there's a lot of uproar about that. So hopefully HBO Max is okay with it. I'm paying now $16 a month for this, but I'm absolutely getting my value from these shows that I'm watching. I feel like if I watch The Last of Us show, I think that's going to be totally worth it. But maybe I should play the game first. I don't know how long it is. But that's kind of like what we watched this week. Speaking of watching things, I guess this is going to tie into the last question that I haven't answered yet. So we'll wait for that. To go into that. In the world of Lego, like gaming was like my big thing. I did a little Legoing this week, but not much. The first thing was kind of a spur of the moment thing. Cody and I were at Target getting some things for a thing that's coming up. And I happened to go back to Lego Wild to look for Lego clearance because that's what I do, right? That's my job. Literally. And they had the Series 24 CMFs like on the end cap there, and I just picked one up at random, and I'm like, let's see who this is. And when you know it, I felt a little space helmet in there, and then I felt the walkie-talkie, and I'm like, all right, this is my number one most wanted Series 24 CMF, and it's the brown spaceman with the little blue spaceman baby. And I was like, yes, got this. Cody was there and she started feeling a few because I told her Clark really wanted the carrot. So she felt some. And then I started feeling them and she was like, well, I'm going to go look at clothes for Clark, man. I was like, okay, I'll just be done here in just a second. I literally stood there and felt every one of those. Like I had my phone in the, like the rack where they were sitting. And I was looking at each of the character and like feeling with my hands. And these bags are so freaking loud that it's like, and there's two Target employees. They're looking at me. This old couple comes in the aisle, and then I hear them talking to each other. And the lady says, "Oh, he's trying to figure out what's in each of those bags." And I was just like, "Oh, it's so freaking embarrassing." I'm darn near 40 years old, and I'm standing there feeling these pink bags of Lego CMFs. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it was a little embarrassing. I did get 3 of the 6 guys I wanted. I didn't get the Black Falcon girl that I really wanted. We didn't get the carrot. Everybody sniped those ones. And all it was left was like the rejects, I guess. But we'll keep at it. Maybe I can get the other 3. I don't want to get a whole box of them. I've done that before. And I spend all this money getting these and then they just sit and it's like they get put away. So we'll just get the ones I really love and then they can just sit and get put away. A hole in my plot here. But that's kind of like, that was it for buying Lego. One thing I did work on or build this week was I needed my Technic fix. Sometimes, like, I know a lot of people don't like Technic. Some people never have any experience with it, but I find it therapeutic in some way. And sometimes you just want to build a Lego Technic set. So I ended up getting the Ducati motorcycle out. It's like a red street racing motorcycle. And I started building that and I'm almost done with it. And I've been enjoying doing that the past few days. And Clark has been working on the Razor Crest, Mandalorian's big ship. So he's been having fun with that. He's about half done with that, cranking it out. Lots of Technic in that too. But that we're kind of like sitting at the dining room table building that and just kind of enjoying the process. It's fun, like not necessarily working on the same set, but we're both kind of working on something independently. And I would love to have those done so I can make a video on them before things happen around here. But I don't think that's going to happen because there's a lot more to do. Maybe not with mine. I might be able to squeeze that in. Maybe if I do like a little build session, maybe I'll do a live stream. I don't like to build Technic on live streams though, because I'm very bad at multitasking. Like reading the chat is enough for me to like take all of my brain energy. Like that's it. When I'm trying to build something and follow directions and then you're looking back and forth to talk to people about things, and then I go off on these wild tangents on various topics, as you probably can tell that I can do pretty well here. It just gets me all kinds of messed up and flustered and I end up making mistakes in a place that you don't want to make mistakes or have leftover pieces for that matter is in the world of Lego Technic, because a mistake is devastating. Everything kind of like clicks together in a way that it becomes like a solid piece, and to get back in there to sneak that piece in isn't as easy as popping off some pieces off of a regular Lego set. So I usually do these in like my little Zen moments where I'm listening to something or just watching something that's not taking a lot of my energy. That's when I'll build Lego Technic, but sometimes you just need a little bit of that. In fact, I talk about one of my greatest Technic experiences I've ever had was when I was building the Bugatti. That is that blue thing, that blue blur right over my shoulder there under the blue light. That I built 1 week at a time, and each week I would build one bag of it while I listened to one of my podcasts. Not my podcast, a podcast. I don't listen to this back unless I have to, because just experiencing this is enough for me. I don't want to listen to myself. I do that enough throughout the week with editing. I just hope, like, I know sometimes, like, if I have to take like a break or something happens in the middle of this, there's a break there that I'll just cut out. But these are very much unedited, and maybe if they were edited, they'd be better. But I like the authenticity that comes from just clicking the button and being like, here we go. As you can tell with this one being all over the place, like, if this is properly ordered, what fun would that be? Especially on Groundhog Day. So that's what we were working on in the world of Lego. Let's go on to the 3 questions. I already answered that, the middle one, which is the blue, a little bit deeper, the thing that life's teaching me right now. See, Roxy's barking right now. We could edit this out. It's because the UPS guy's here. Let's go on to the green question. This is the easy one. Actually, before we do this, oh God, this is a little embarrassing. Last week, there was a question that was, what is on your fridge door? And my answer to that question was lots of sauces. I love condiments and all of this. I went off on this long-winded tirade on how much I love dipping all my stuff in sauces. And then it occurred to me after reading a few comments, they weren't talking about the inside of your fridge door. People were like, what's on my fridge door is magnets or pictures of my family. And they're like, I think they're talking about the outside of your fridge door. And I was just like, oh my God. So much cringe. I messed that question up so royally, and it was the freaking green question of all things, which is supposed to be the easy one. It's like the one that's like the icebreaker. And I know what messed me up. There was a time where in our old house, our fridge had magnets of every place that we've been to. Every time we would travel somewhere, we would get a magnet. We put that on the front of the fridge, and I loved it. I loved looking at that. It made me so happy because it's like all these memories are tied to these various places. But then we moved to this house, and when you know it, our refrigerator, which is a Samsung, does not support any magnets. On the side it does, and we have some things there, pictures of my nephews, the school lunch menu, for example. These are probably the things that they're actually asking about. But the front of our fridge has nothing on it now. So when they said, what's on your fridge door, my mind, in this new sense of living here for 3 years, is like, when I open it, what's on my fridge door? When I open up and look inside, what's on my fridge door? Not necessarily what's on the door when you look at it. And I understand that now. And if you'd asked me this question in 2019, I would have been like, oh, there's all these magnets and these pictures. And like right now, we still on the side where there is magnet, we have pictures of us going down the log flume at Knoebels, those type of things. I think that's pretty common for most people. Maybe you have your dinner menu or a shopping list. We have those things on there as well. That's about it. Just pictures and magnets. But it is sucky a little bit that I can't put anything on the front of it because I would keep all those things. This fridge is actually interesting down here. This is Frigitect. And I have magnets from people that have sent me mail, and they sent me magnets, and I put those on the fridge. So I have magnets from all these different places in the world that I haven't been to in many cases on this fridge. So that question actually gets to be way more interesting and answerable here now that I actually have it right. But I appreciate you guys noticing that. In fact, that brought up a whole nother topic that I thought would be fun to talk about here. Before we answer this screen question, there were a few people, and I don't want to call any names out, but there were a few people that was their only comment, right? They commented like, hey, they meant inside the fridge or whatever, some type of variant of that. And I was thinking about that whole thing, and I was like, I sat here for 50 plus minutes last week talking about all kinds of different topics, some that you can probably relate to, maybe some that you can't relate to. But regardless, you sat here for all that time, and of all the things that I talked about, that was the one thing that you commented on. And I was talking to Cody about this. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. She's like, yeah, I think it's because we're kind of taught to find the thing that's wrong and fix it in our culture. And I was like, oh, that's a really interesting way of thinking about it. And it really got me thinking, like, those people that commented that were like, they heard this thing that was wrong. That was like the thing that, regardless of what they're doing, they stopped what they're doing to comment that. Many people, and I don't fault you for this. If you're listening to this, you may not even be on YouTube, or you may be watching some on your TV. Maybe you're driving to work. All those things we talked about earlier. But like, that was the thing that you're like, nope, no, that's not right. And then you got on to like fix it, right? And it's interesting to me, of all the different things, like that was the one thing. So I really do think that maybe she was onto something there, where we are taught that we need to seek out the thing that's wrong and make it right. And that's something that like kind of concerns me about our culture too. Like, why does everything have to be right? And I think it's one of those things that maybe turns us from being artists into non-artists because we are worried about being wrong or being criticized by others. I don't think that you guys were necessarily criticizing me, but you did point out that one thing, and I have found that on YouTube, many times that does lead to more engagement if you make a mistake, because that will be the one thing that someone will comment on in a world where maybe they wouldn't have commented at all. Like I spent like the first 10 or 15 minutes talking about my weight loss journey last week. It got excessive, right? You don't have any, you can't relate to that in some way, or like you've never had a point in your life where maybe you've been overweight or had like something that you did that worked. Like there's so many different like topics, but like that one thing, I find it interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Maybe you can make this your thing. Maybe if I make a mistake in talking about this thing, that'll be the thing that encourages you to get on here and say something. I find that fascinating. And that's like that could be a whole podcast within itself. Why is it that we focus on the things that are wrong and try to fix them, as opposed to focusing on the things that are working well and that are good? And it kind of takes me to a book that I listened to this week. I would say read, but I listened to it. It's called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, who was a Holocaust survivor. And one of the big things that the takeaway from this book is that you can choose anything. Like a lot of things can be taken from you in this life, right? As a Holocaust survivor, he knows that more than anyone. But the one thing that people can't take from you is your attitude and how you respond to things, and how you ultimately feel inside. And having like some type of meaning or something that you're working towards really does, like it is like the way to stay alive. And that's what he found in his experiences. And like to those people that maybe in your life you do feel like you're one of those people that always tries to find the wrong thing, or not necessarily tries, but like you find yourself in that camp where you're just like maybe like the cynic, or a person that's like, always, I just can't imagine like that would be a happy existence. Why not choose just to be happy with the conditions of things, instead of always trying to like nitpick? And that's something that I guess I'm learning too. Maybe life is teaching me that right now. Maybe life is teaching me that maybe you should just be happy with the way things are and don't worry about the things that you can't control, or maybe don't worry about things that aren't the way that they necessarily should be. Try to appreciate them for what they are. So if someone does say, "What's on your fridge door?" and you open the fridge door up and you look inside, maybe that is the right answer. It's just an answer to not the question that you thought was being answered or asked. There's something to think about, right? Anyways, that's a whole nother tangent that I went down. But let's go on to the last question here. This is a good one. This one, oh man. This is the one that makes you think deep within. What is something you miss from your past is what this question is. And boy, there's a lot of things. First thing that comes to my mind, selfishly, is arcades. I miss arcades. And on top of that, I miss like the shopping experience of going to a mall that's thriving, or even like a store that's thriving. I miss Kmart, one of my like classic places I used to like going shopping. I guess I miss the days before technology took over. As much as technology's benefited me in the form of being able to do this with you, for example, or to make YouTube videos, or to be able to enjoy TikTok on the elliptical, I feel like technology and social media, like I do miss the days before that existed. I feel like it was such a simpler time, and I miss the simpler times from my childhood, back when like life was so easy. There was no worries. I was just a kid on the floor with all my Legos spilled out, building stuff and being creative. And I loved that. And then as you become an adult, you start to become that person that makes the comment that they meant inside the fridge and nothing else. And you start to you start to get hardened, I guess. And I miss that. But mostly I just miss the good old days. I mentioned Saturday morning cartoons, or something I was going to allude to. I watched a video last night about how like they don't exist anymore, and I miss that. Like I guess I miss being a child, and maybe this is just something that happens with any person that grows up. You miss the old days of when you were a kid, and I'm sure people that grew up in the 70s as opposed to like the 90s, like me, they probably miss those days, and those were the good old days. Or the 50s were the good old days, or the 30s. Maybe not the 30s, Great Depression times, maybe not the good old days, but you get what I'm saying. Like maybe the days before were always the good old days. But I hate to be like negative, but it's really hard these days to really find something good, isn't it? Like, do you ever find yourself just thinking like what's one good thing that's happened in the last 3 years? Why does everything just seem to be bad? Like we got inflation, there's war that's happening, like there's COVID happening. Like why does everything just seem like it's going downhill? Is it? Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it's just like the trajectory. And like, I do think that maybe I grew up during one of the last good times to be like a kid. But there's kids that are watching this right now or listening to this. I know that for a fact because they comment on occasion. Is it a good time to be a kid right now? Maybe you don't know any different. Maybe I didn't realize in the 90s when I was growing up that that was actually a sucky time and the 80s were way better. I don't know. We only know from our personal experiences, but I miss a lot of things from being a child. And I guess mostly the innocence of it and just like the simplicity of things, I guess, is the thing that I want. The days before Amazon and Instagram and Facebook and all these places took over our lives. But maybe when the AI bots take over and Terminators are driving over our skulls, maybe we'll miss these days right now. Who knows? As I take a drink break, just let you stew with that one for a moment. Let's get into some listener feedback here. Again, I know this episode is not going to be super long, but maybe it will be because there's some good stuff here, especially with the Would You Rathers. But let's talk about some fitness stuff. Some people actually had thoughts. This first one's from Brandon. He's the guy that's using Zwift, and he was talking about how you can burn calories in the form of pizza slices, which sounds amazing to me. He has a follow-up on this because I asked him a question about it. He says, it's set up that about 285 calories is a slice. I believe you can adjust this on the desktop app. I rode a little over 300 miles this month and burned 35 slices. Do it. It does take a lot. It does take a lot to burn off a slice. I'm trying to read. I'm failing. Okay, 285 calories a slice. He did 300 miles, 35 slices. Not bad. So you could have been down, like, you could be eating about 4 pizzas this month. You could have a pizza every single week for all of the riding you've done on your bike. Again, Zwift is it's like an app where you're riding your bike in real life in your room. It's like a stationary type thing. And then it has like a hub that goes on the back wheel. And then you're like racing with these other people in this area. And it's kind of interactive, you know. It's a good alternative when it's cold out to like going outside and actually riding a bike. Way safer, I suppose, too, because you're not going to get hit by a car or anything like that. You're not going to get sunburn on the back of your neck. But I don't know, dude. That's not too bad. So you can do you can get like 1 slice in for every 10 miles. 10 miles on a bike, 1 slice. I think I'd do that. That's not bad. Bike riding isn't terrible. I mean, I'm sure you're going at it like a madman. Like you're not casually riding through the tulips down this path or whatever. I would do that. I would trade almost anything for a slice of pepperoni pizza right now. Anything. No, thank you for the response though. G Family TV says, if you're ever in the New York City area, I talked a little bit about my life goal, which is to create a channel called Pizza, Pretzels, and Pickles. There's also new P's that have been added to it. Pizza, Pretzels, Pickles, and Pools, and or Pizzas, Pretzels, Pickles, and Parks, because I want to add theme parks and roller coasters to it. I'm thinking that may be the way. I think we're going to go Pizza, Pretzels, Pickles, Parks. So all I have to do is go to various places, eating pizza, trying pickles, having pretzels, and going to theme park. I think it could be the greatest thing ever. I think people would be totally on board. You got the food people. They're like, oh man, what kind of pizzas are you going to try today? The pickle gang, the pickle ricks. I think they're out there. I think it might be a small audience, but I don't know if there's any channels. I'll have to do a search. Is there anybody out there that's just all they're doing is doing pickle reviews? I doubt it. I could be that guy. And then the soft pretzels, Annie Ann's is my jam. So I'm going to have to probably find a way to love pretzels that aren't entirely coated in butter. But I think I could be that guy. And then we wrap the episode up with me riding a roller coaster. Game over. YouTube, like, give me my 5 million subscriber plaque. Let's go. Doesn't even exist. They're just going to make one for me. It's in the shape of it's going to be like a pizza, pretzel, and then a pickle, and then a roller coaster down below it. That's going to be my YouTube plaque, because they're just like, we've never seen anything like this before. Mr. Beast is calling me. He's trying to get like tips on how he can make videos as engaging as Pizza, Pretzels, Pickles, and Parks. It's like, sorry, man. It's a trade secret. Anyways, let's exit the fantasy world and read this poor guy's comment. He says, if you're ever in the New York City area, I'm going back. I have a plan. We're not reading your comment. I'm sorry. I'm going back in the spring. I was going to find like a day when it's really nice in New York City, like maybe in May or June or something like that. Just a beautiful day. I'm going to drive down to Harrisburg, because I don't want to drive into New York City. Ain't no way, boy. Drive down to Harrisburg, get on the train, and ride the train from Harrisburg to New York City, where they'll drop me off at Penn Station. I can go get some pizza outside. But he tells me that maybe I should get a New York City pretzel from a street vendor. We did pass some vendors that had street food there when we went in October. I still have the footage from this video that I have yet to edit. He says, might give Annie Ann's a run for the money. tempting, sir. He says, call back from an old episode where you said you'd never eaten tripe. I've never had it. He says, about 25 minutes from New York City, there's a Greenpoint, Brooklyn, a lot of Polish eatery. They give you a delicious tripe soup. It's really not bad, but I can see how the name might gross people out. I'm not even entirely sure what tripe is, but I'm willing to try anything. I do like some Polish food. In fact, Knoebels has like a little Polish food platter that you can get. I'll get it opening day at Knoebels. I get that in a tiger tail so you guys can live vicariously through me at Pizza, Pretzels, Pickles, and Parks. That'll be the park episode. Also, Clark gets a pickle there. The pizza, God rest its soul. They changed the pizza place. I'm so sad. 40 years, the pizza place was the most amazing place. They retired, and Knoebels is like, oh, let's just throw our own pizza out here. You know, this little pizza's so delicious. No, it's not as good. Anyways, you're getting me fired up here, G family. Thank you for the comment. Janelle, who I especially want to wish a happy Groundhog's Day to. It's Groundhog Day. I say groundhogs. She lives in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. She's living her best life. She says she's eating a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream as she's watching this. So I'm eating 1,120 calories. I wish I had your self-control. Enjoying the farming simulator game. How many miles is that on Zwift, Brandon? If you're talking 300 miles, you get 35 slices of pizza. Let's do the math on this. He said that's 285 calories a slice. She's eating 1,100 calories, so she's eating about 4 slices of pizza. So what would that be? About 40 miles on a bike? If we're doing like really rough math here, I don't know if it's worth it. I'd ride 10 miles for a slice of pizza. I don't know if I'd ride 40 miles to eat a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. What would you guys do? What's the ice cream worth to you? Maybe if you didn't eat the whole pint, which a pint is not a lot. I could eat a pint without even being challenged. Let's be honest here. Tune into, oh my God, pizza, pretzels, pickles, parks, and pints. We add ice cream to it. Dude, there's so many things. And pools. I mentioned we could do pools too. I like to go swimming. If you got any other P letters that I could add in there, I just thought, okay, never mind. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you for the comment, Janelle. Kimberly says, another great episode, Greg. Thank you. Next comment. No, I'm just kidding. She says, happy to hear the Roxy update. Roxy's still doing well. Slight bad news. Her tumor was like level 1 malignant, but she said because they cut it out and got a clean like cut around it, it's very unlikely that it'll come back, but we should monitor it just to be sure. It's an isolated thing. She said she hopes she's going strong after surgery. One of her cats has surgery scheduled for next Monday, and I'm the same as you, terribly worried about her going under. That's if you have an older animal, that is the scary thing. Like I worry not only like, is she going to come out of this, but also like, is it going to like degrade her mentally afterwards? Cause I've heard that can happen with older people. If you're 80, 90 years old and you go under anesthesia, when you come back out, sometimes like the things don't quite fire the way that they did before, and it can be detrimental. But I don't know if it's the same way with pets, but Roxy she's 77 in dog years, soon to be 84. So she's probably a solid 80 in dog years, and that's pretty old. She does have, though, this isn't just about pets. It says, this is for the would you rather. For the rest of your life, you can have only fizzy drinks like Coke, Sprite, sodas, pops, for us here, or hot drinks, coffee, tea, hot chocolate. First, she says for her it's a tough one. I have to keep hot drinks. I'm English after all, and I miss tea too much. Listen, for me, I hate hot drinks. This is the easiest thing that I've ever done. Even coffee, like I only have iced coffee. I don't like anything hot. So I would definitely go fizzy drinks. That being said, I haven't been doing the whole fizzy drinks or the soda thing this month, and I don't really miss it. I've been drinking, like, this is my drink. And sometimes I have these drinks from Wegmans that don't have any calories in them, have vitamins in them. It's not that big of a deal. I find that the reason that I typically drink Coke, which is my choice of fizzy drinks, is because I'm eating something bad. Like if I have pizza, I got to have a Coke. And I did have a Coke with that. And it was glorious because it was the bottle. I had one last bottle of Coke in there, like a glass bottle. And it's so much better because it has like actual sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup. Slamming. Or if I have like Chinese food or anything like bad, like if I have bad food, I got to have a bad drink with it. And it was just a mental thing. So now that I'm eating healthy foods, just have water with my dinner. You know what I mean? So it's like a vicious circle or vicious cycle or whatever it is where you just like do bad things and that results in more bad things. It's like people that go to the bar and they're like, if I'm having a drink, I got to have a smoke. If I'm having a smoke, I got to have a drink. Like just don't do either of those. Then you get yourself out of it. So easy one for me. I'm going to choose cold drinks. If we're just going to go cold drinks all day versus hot drinks for me. She says, keep up the good work. Lastly, watched Wildcat because of you, and I'll be sending you my therapy bill because I'll never recover from it. Wildcat. It will pull at your heartstrings a little bit. It's on Amazon Prime if you want to watch it. I'm thinking most of you probably have Amazon Prime. I think, did I read that like 83% of people have Amazon Prime shipping? It's kind of unsettling, like when Jeff Bezos becomes our supreme overlord or whoever controls Amazon these days. Next comment. Thank you for the comment, though, by the way. That's for everybody here. Alex says, Greg, I'm 14 years old and I'm working on losing some weight and being more physical. Your podcast keeps me going and motivated. My goal is to keep a schedule and be consistent with exercise. I think that's fantastic. The best thing you can do is show up. Anyway, I figured I'd give you a would you rather while I'm here. Would you rather go back to yourself at age 10 with all the knowledge you have about the world now, or go forward 10 years in your life with $10 million in the bank? Thanks to the great episode again. Easy. Another easy one. I would go back 10 years with all the knowledge that I have, especially knowing which companies do really well. And, it's almost like Biff when he takes a sport almanac back and gives it to younger Biff. That's kind of how it would be. Only I would hope that I don't become like the Biff of the future, where he's like kind of like it's almost like a Donald Trump of sorts. No offense to all you people that like him. Anyways, I would go back with all the knowledge that I have. Although this would really create a lot of issues. Anytime you get into time travel, it creates a lot of paradoxes because I would end up making different decisions, but then like, would my life be different? Like I would try to still meet Cody, right? That would probably still work. But what if like having all the knowledge that I have now, maybe that I come off way different than I would have been at 18. I think I would definitely be more likable now than I was then because you're a teenager, you're an idiot. Let's just be honest. You're pretty much an idiot. Maybe if things wouldn't hit off, like would we still make all the life decisions? I'd probably change a lot of things and maybe all this different stuff would happen that wouldn't result in the same outcome that I'm at right now. It'd be like the butterfly effect or like the multiverse happening. So it would be a little dangerous to go back in time, but to go forward in time and lose 10 years for that money, it doesn't seem worth it. I wouldn't want to give up 10 years of my life for $10 million. I think if I were to go back 10 years, with the knowledge, I think I could generate $10 million. All I'd be like, all right, let's put all of our money in Apple stock, or let's put all of our money in Google or Amazon. And like everything that I did and worked for, I would do that with. And then today it would probably be worth a significant amount of money, depending on what you had to start with, which if we went back 10 years, we're going back 10 years. You're going back to age 10 though. Okay. Man, that's crazy. That would solve my other problem though. I was thinking like forward 10 years or back 10 years, but going back to age 10, I could do all these things that I missed from the past. That would put me at like 1994 and I could still go to the arcade. I'd have all this. It would be wonderful. I would pay $10 million to go back if I had $10 million. YouTube, put me in the algorithm. I would go back to 10 years old if I could. I would pay $10 million, go back to 10 years old with all the knowledge that I have and then relive my life. I want to do that with Roxy Bear. Not like her going with me, but like I want to take Roxy's brain as it is now and I just want to put that into a new dog body because she's such an awesome dog and has been so amazing and been with us on this whole journey. And I wish I could just take her and essentially like clone her, make a brand new Roxy, but I want her all of her memories and things and everything that she is to go into that new little puppy body that's brand new and fresh. Even though I'll know in like 8 years, I'm still going to have to replace all of her, like her knees, get new ACLs for her. And we're going to have all these problems, as she gets older. I would just want her to get a fresh body. And I wish I could do that. And that would be a great business. People would go nuts doing that, because your pet essentially becomes like a part of your life. And if you could go back and take that animal and give them something new, be so amazing. So I would pay for that too. I don't know if I could. What would be the price though? Like, could you put a price on that? Like, would you pay $100,000 to get your dog to be brand new again? Like it's like house money. You know what I mean? Well, it used to be. Back when I was a kid, you could easily buy a house for that much. Now that's like a down payment these days, I guess, depending on where you live. Yeah, I don't know what the price is. Like, it's really hard to put a price on saving someone you love, isn't it? Is it everything you have? But animals and pets, it's a little different. because I guess you go into it with the expectation that this animal probably isn't going to be with you your entire life, and you are setting yourself up for heartache. But I think ultimately the positivity that comes from owning a pet or having a pet in your life is definitely worth it. All right, next one. We got another one from Matt Jesse. He says, I'll hit you with an interesting would you rather for the next episode. Let's go. Would you rather be the most intelligent or smartest person in the world, or the least intelligent / dumbest person? The catch is that regardless of which you choose, your current intelligence level will not change at all. Everyone else's will. Many pros, cons, and possible scenarios on both sides. Okay, this is really tough because let's say your intelligence is where it's at. So if you want to be the smartest person, everyone around you is now really dumb. So you have trouble like connecting with people, right? Because everyone's like such a low IQ. It'd be like being a super genius and then like you're trying to tell someone like the simplest things and they're just like staring at you, like drooling or whatever. And you're like, oh. So it'd be a very lonely world. I think it'd be lonely on both ends because if you become the dumbest person, everyone else is smarter, you're going to get treated worse because of that, I would assume. And you're not going to be able to connect with people either. So what your question comes down to is like, how do you want to be disconnected from people? And I guess ultimately you'd probably want to be smarter. Well, I just figured out a loophole on this one. This is a really good one. You choose to be the dumbest person. Your intelligence level stays the same. Everyone else becomes very smart. So while you are kind of left in the dust, all these people are super intelligent, so they're inventing all kinds of amazing things like how to keep your dog alive forever and put him into a new body, or how to create unlimited renewable energy, or get us to different planets, or do light speed travel. They're all doing that while you're just like chilling and being like your simple self that they think you are, with not much expectations of you. I think that's the move. You make everyone else smarter. That way you don't have the pressure of being the only smart person. And then you see like what comes of it. Could be good, could be bad, but that's a good one. I like that one. That one's really like tricky on either end of it. Thank you for that one. That does conclude our Would You Rather part of this series. I do like that segment. And if you have any Would You Rathers for the future, make them tricky. Like, don't be like Clark Man. It's like, would you rather have McDonald's or mop the floors? That's his Would You Rather. I'm like, bro. Anyways, Melvin, he has a comment related to the McDonald's DoorDash incident from last week. If you didn't hear that, you got to go back and listen to it. It's quite the story. He says, I've experienced making DoorDash orders with working at Taco Bell, and I can tell you, at least in my area, I have orders that'll pop up at 9 or 10 p.m. You know who's eating Taco Bell at 9 or 10 p.m. And sometimes they are there within minutes, and sometimes it may take an hour or two to get it. And sometimes more often than I'd like, because it wastes food. DoorDash never picks up the orders, so on top of it being expensive on the restaurant side of it, I wouldn't trust knowing how long it sits sometimes. Yeah, I think that's an issue with maybe not having enough drivers, but I've also heard from DoorDash drivers that like they can kind of see what the tip's going to be. And if the tip isn't high enough, it's not worth them going to get it to deliver it. So if somebody orders, 4 tacos that cost $8 and there's like a $1 tip on there, they're like, frig it, I'm not even going to bother. So you guys end up making the food and then no DoorDasher comes and gets it. So I can relate to that. But yeah, DoorDash is like, it's a huge premium for the convenience. Like you're paying more, and we did this during the pandemic. You're paying more for the food, and then you're paying DoorDash fees, and then you're paying the tip for the driver, and the food just comes out to be exorbitantly expensive. Like Five Guys is crazy expensive as it is, but when we did it through DoorDash, it was like $80 for like hamburgers, French fries, and like 2 milkshakes. It's like, how? So to know that like the restaurant's kind of getting screwed, DoorDash seems to be kind of winning with it. And then the driver is the ultimate winner because they're getting paid pretty good for driving around, assuming gas isn't too expensive and they're able to have enough deliveries to justify their time. I can see it being a win for them, but for us, like from a consumer standpoint, and I'm sure like other people are realizing this now that everything is now opened up again after the pandemic, like why would you pay such a massive premium? Unless you are like super drunk and you don't want to drive and you just want them to come to your house, or you have friends and people over and you don't want to leave that, so you have them come, or you're too young, say you're 14 years old, you want to get some McDonald's and then they deliver to your neighbor's house. That could all be possibilities. So I can see I see a need for it, but man, it's a lot to pay for that convenience. You're much better off just going to the grocery store, grabbing some extra stuff to put in the freezer, and then when you're really hungry, get off your lazy butt and go out and make yourself something. Make yourself a pizza or make something, some type of garbage food that you're going to eat anyway. That's probably the move to make, and you'll save a ton of money. It just takes a little bit of planning and a little bit of work. Two things that I think most people probably don't do or want to do. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. Hate to end it on a negative note towards humanity, but that's what, it's life is. You assess things as they are, and that's kind of what this podcast is a little bit. Just I look at life through my lens, and I talk about the things that what I'm up to and doing and thinking about, and then I think about other people, and then through comments and stuff, it opens my eyes up to new things, and it's really fun to have this vibe session to go back and forth and to talk about whatever it is that's on my heart for the week. And every episode kind of, to me at least, once we get past the part where I spend 20 minutes talking about losing 2 pounds this week and what I've been doing to do it, because it's getting probably a little repetitive for you, outside of that, everything kind of feels like, what's this week going to be? And that's what I always strive for on YouTube. I always want something. I never want to be like the same thing all the time. I want it to feel fresh, and that's my ultimate goal. So hopefully this is feeling fresh for you. This became a much longer episode than I anticipated, but I love it. I love doing this, and I greatly appreciate you for tuning in. I hope you have a glorious week this week. Work towards something that you want to get to. If you want to answer or talk about anything from this podcast, I invite you to do that. I'd love to share it on the next listener feedback. If I made a mistake, I'm sure I'll hear about it, and I will address that as well. I hope you guys have a glorious week, if I already said it 6 times, and we'll see you all and find you all in the next Missing Pieces.